Hey guys, today I have Chris with me. Chris is someone who's kind of been with Mass Immersion Approach from its inception. He's been one of the first people to start making update videos in response to my videos and kind of documenting their own journey. And just about 1 week ago, I saw that Chris uploaded a video of him speaking Japanese after has it been 18 months since he started learning?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, after 18 months, and I was blown away. He sounds great.
自分でもあんまり信じられないというか、もうなんか実感できないというか、
Of course, I asked Chris, would you consider yourself fluent? He was hesitant to use the word, and I totally get that because there's so much baggage around the word fluency. But I can say with confidence that given how long he's been learning, he's at a really, really impressive level. And so I'm really happy to bring him on today and get to hear his story. So how's it going today, Chris?
It's pretty good. I've just been chilling today. Actually, I haven't really done any Japanese today yet. No, I'm really glad to be here. I remember like a year and a half ago, I was like, yo, it would be awesome if I could be on one of these interview videos, like actually like with my words actually holding some sort of weight. Like, you know, like that's the reason I like refrain from talking too much about the method at first, is because if I don't have any ability, my words hold no weight. Because even if other people have used the method, like, and have proof of getting really good, like, then they would listen to someone else who actually got goodness instead of me. Like why would you listen to someone who, like, still isn't even good yet? Like, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, but here you are.
Yeah.
So...
It's kind of crazy. I mean, people have been saying that it's, like, Japanese is good for 1.5 years. I'm surprised. Because I remember the first person whose update videos I saw was Brit versus Japan. And that's what really got me sold on the whole idea of what it was age at the time. I remember, like, I saw his update videos and I saw a video of him speaking Japanese, and although his Japanese was kind of janky, like, he could speak and he could comprehend a lot of Japanese, and I was just like, well, I don't like taking classes. I don't want to take a Japanese class in college. Everyone who takes Japanese classes in college, the majority of them don't get anywhere. There's some who do, and I respect those people. But a lot of people don't, and I know I'm going to be one of the people who wouldn't get anywhere in those classes because those classes put me to sleep, and I'm not going to want to be there. So, yeah, I was just like, why don't I just do it for myself? Like, why wait, basically? Like,
Yeah. But wait, we should back up to the very beginning of your Japanese journey.
Oh, yeah.
And talk about how did you even decide you wanted to learn Japanese in the first place?
Okay, so at the time, so let me actually get the series right here. So there's this game series right here. This is the 9th game in the whole series. It's the Kiseki series, and so basically there are 3 arcs to the games. And the second arc, which was a duology, those weren't localized. And I wanted to play them really bad because people were telling me that they were really good. And so I was just like, and I was listening to the soundtracks like every day, and I was like, yo, if I learn Japanese, I can play these games, bro. And so I bought the Genki textbook, like a lot of other people.
Did you just like Google how to learn Japanese?
More or less. And I like watched YouTube videos and stuff. Like, you know, I found like Japanese from zero and stuff, which actually did have a lot of helpful stuff for beginners, I think.
And how long ago was this, by the way?
This was about 2 years ago. So September, October of 2017, I think. Yeah, no, it was like September of 2017. So it was like 6 months before I started AJAT or something like that. So I was watching stuff like that. So I got the Genki textbook. It was really boring. I like was falling asleep looking through it. I was just like, this is really boring. I can't do this. And so I went into the English-Japanese language exchange Discord and like kind of wasted my time there all the time, just talking to people, and like didn't do any Japanese until I met this one guy, Yuki, who is one Japanese guy, like who like tried to push me to like speak Japanese or like interact with Japanese more. But I still didn't really make any progress. And then, so there was this one day where Matt came into that Discord, right?
Yeah, and this was before I actually started being active on YouTube or had a Patreon.
Yeah,
anything,
this
right?
is the time where Matt wasn't like a real asshole at the time. Because he was really pushing RTK on me. Like, he was just like, dude, if you do RTK, like, kanji will be so easy. Like, every other method is wrong. Like, just do this and you'll be fine. And I was just like, the fuck, man? Like, chill. Like, he was really aggressive about it.
This is when I was a hardcore, like, AJATer who was just all about AJAT being the Bible of how to get good at a language. And I hadn't started a YouTube channel yet, or I had a YouTube channel, but I wasn't active or anything. I think just randomly I found out about these Discord servers, and I just went in there to try to just, I mean, almost to bully the all the people who I consider to be, kind of confused about how to get good at a language. And I was just frustrated that no one would understand my point of view. And I really also just didn't really understand human psychology. So I would kind of just walk up to everyone and be like, hey, you guys have no idea what you're doing. You're never going to get good doing that. If you want to get good, you got to do this. And that's the beginning of my bad reputation on the internet.
Yeah.
But yeah, Chris was one of those people.
Yeah, like, I mean, it was like kind of annoying at first, but like at the same time, it was like, he was actually fluent in Japanese, so even though he came off as an ass, I still kept his words in my mind, just because, just in case. And I'm glad I did, because boy, when I started trying to read manga, man, kanji pissed me off so much. Oh my god. It was just so hard for me. Like, I'd read a character over 18 times in a manga, and I still can't remember it. So I was just like, yo, maybe this remembering the kanji thing might be a good idea. And so I went back to Matt's channel, and then I looked at some of his stuff, and I was like, this is I think Matt started getting more active on started getting a little more active on YouTube around this time, and there was AJAT tips and stuff, and immersion tips and stuff like that, and I was just like, because this is a lot of the stuff that I was kind of aiming for, the monolingual transition. I always had in my mind, how can I call myself fluent in a language if I can't read a dictionary in that language? So, and I've always thought about not thinking, keeping the Japanese separate from the English, basically, just so that all of my Japanese ability, it's not like I'm translated from English to Japanese, don't want to do any of that. So that's what pushed me to start remembering the kanji, and this is the time where it was mostly just AJAT, and it was just read the AJAT website, do remembering the kanji and immerse. That was that was the whole thing in a nutshell, and do Anki. So I started February 1st. I started with lazy kanji because I had no idea, because that's the first thing I saw. I didn't know about the traditional method and stuff. And so I started with lazy kanji. Yeah.
Did you do immersion during this period too?
Yeah, I got around maybe two hours or so a day, but that was just because
that's pretty
good. I had school, and when I started lazy kanji, I was like, yo, I really want to get through this, so I did 50 a day for 2 weeks. And then I heard about the traditional method of remembering the kanji, the one where you actually learn how to write the characters. I was like, oh shit, I don't want to restart, because I already went through 500, probably 500 characters in 2 weeks or something. So I just flipped all my cards, so that the story would be on the front, the kanji would be on the back.
And how did that go?
I mean, it was painful, but I did it. I think I stopped doing new cards for a while, so that I could go through all the, because I just didn't want to remake the deck, do the deck all over again. It's too much work. And I'm lazy. And so then after that, I did that for about a week or a week and a half.
And were you getting a lot of cards wrong? Because I imagine that if you started with kanji on the front, keyword on the back, and then you switched that all of a sudden, that for a lot of the cards you wouldn't be able to recall the kanji from memory.
Yeah, I got most of them wrong. I just dealt with it. I knew it wasn't the best idea, but I was just lazy, so I just did it.
How many hours a day were you repping, just going through these cards?
Okay. Well, I think maybe near an hour and a half or so, or maybe somewhere closer to 2 hours. So when I started adding new cards, doing traditional, I started with 35, because I was still crazy. And let me tell you, don't do that ever. I had 180 reviews per day plus 30 new cards, and let me tell you, that took 2.5 hours a day. So basically the way I did my reps was, as soon as I wake up and ate breakfast, I'd do reps in the morning, before school. I'd when I get to school 20 minutes before class or something, I'd be in there writing kanji literally every single day. During lunch, rip my social life, I was doing reps. When I got home, did my homework, did reps, and then I did immersion. So it was just that whole semester of high school, my second semester of my junior year of high school, my social life was gone because of remembering the kanji.
So you were still getting in a couple hours of immersion a
Yeah,
day in
like
addition to
2,
spending
because
all this
I only
time
got my
on
free
kanji.
time at like 9 or 10 o'clock, and I would go to bed at like 12.
So that sounds really insane, actually.
Yeah.
What was the source of your motivation? What kept you pushing through this?
My motivation was that, one, if I do this now, I'll get through it quicker, so I'll get to the fun stuff faster, right? The other thing was that I was just, in my head was just that if I do this, it'll make it a lot easier to just be able to read kanji and just be able to read books. And I wanted to read a lot. Like, like from the beginning, I just wanted to read light novels really badly. And so I was just like, if I just push through this, like this 3 or 4 months, like I'll just finish it. It took me 4 months instead of 3 because, surprise, surprise, I started dropping the new cards. I dropped to 30, then 20, 25, 20, and then like, I think a month before like I finished RTK, I dropped to like 10 because I was just done. I was like, I can't do all those reps anymore. And then I kept repping RTK for like a total of 8 months. Like around 8 months I think is when I stopped, because that's the point where I started forgetting, like I couldn't associate the English keywords with the kanji.
Yeah, and wait though, so did you do RTK 3 as well?
Yeah.
Are you including that in this chunk?
Yes, I did. As soon as I finished 1, I went straight to 3. Like no breaks.
Damn.
Yeah.
And so did you ever get behind on your reviews, or were you really good about that?
Oh no, I never missed a single day of RTK reviews. I'm not joking. I didn't miss a single day. When I was on vacation in Florida, like I like my reviews were because like I was doing that at night instead of the morning, because like I was on vacation, and morning people were always coming over, so it was too loud for me to focus. And so yeah, like I didn't miss a single day, because the thing is that I saw people who miss days sometimes. And every time they miss day, I was like, no. It gets way worse if you miss a single day. You'll double your reviews. It's not worth it. No.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So when you finally finished remembering the kanji, were you elated or were you kind of defeated?
No, I was just kind of like, yo, I don't have to do new cards ever again, and my reviews will continuously drop. That was just me. Like, man, when my reviews started dropping below 100, I was so happy. Oh my god. Then it eventually averaged to about 70 a day, like a couple months later. And then I think it dropped to 50, and then around when it was 50 is when I stopped.
And so you said then your retention rate started to drop?
Yeah, it started to drop because I couldn't associate the kanji with the English keywords anymore, because like now my Japanese was improving. And so I associated Japanese with kanji. I couldn't associate English with kanji anymore as well. Like that well.
Yeah, that happens.
So, yeah.
And so what was your retention rate at right before you deleted your deck? Like how bad did it get?
I believe it was like either it was 70% or it dropped just a little below 70%.
Okay, that's not that bad. But at that point, were you feeling like a lot would be lost if you deleted your deck, or were you feeling like I don't really need it at this point? I can already read pretty well.
I felt like I didn't really need it, because like if I'm already forgetting, what's the point of repping, first off? And two, it's already helped so much with my reading ability, like not confusing. Well, I don't confuse characters like because of their appearance. I might just like mix up like readings though sometimes, but like I don't like actually confuse the characters if they're side by side or something. Like that doesn't happen. It's just if I don't pay attention.
Yeah, so when you first moved on to, well, first of all, what did you do when you finished RTK? Like, what was your experience coming off of that?
Well, one, I had a lot more free time. So I kind of just watched some anime, read some manga, YouTube. Like I was just like kind of casually immersing. And then that Netfly site that has like a bunch of like light novels and stuff that you can read digitally, and you can actually like look up the words because you can just highlight them. I did that, and I read like my first light novel. It took me, actually, because I got really hooked on it, I think it only took me like 2 or 3 days.
And so this is like right after finishing RTK, because that sounds like that would be pretty challenging.
About a month after, like I think this was on like my 9th month that I first started reading them, and I quit RTK around my 8th. Because like I just got into this one. It's just like I started reading a little bit of it, and it just, I don't know what it is. It just like I was like, yo, I want to know what happens. And so I just kept reading and reading it. I just kept looking up words and stuff, and like I was not thinking about the difficulty at all. I was just going. I was like, yo, this is interesting. And it's like I just couldn't stop reading it even if I wanted to. I was like, man, I should probably do some listening, but yo, let me read this first.
And so you didn't do any grammar work or anything?
No, yeah, I did take Kim like right after RTK. I actually keep forgetting about this, honestly. I did take Kim right after. I added like 100 sentences or so from take Kim. Then I stopped because I was like, repping take Kim is too much work, and also these grammar rules are honestly just like sort of like guidelines. Like I'm like, they will teach me some stuff, but like I feel like making sentence cards and stuff or trying to remember all the grammar rules is kind of pointless. I mean, well, maybe not pointless, but like I didn't really care too much about it. And so I read through all of Take In, but like I didn't like do sentence cards and stuff.
Okay, so and then when you were reading to Take In, did you feel like that helped you? Like,
no, yeah,
did
it
things
did.
Click, or
because I feel like there were some grammar points that one that like I heard it in immersion that were cleared up a bit by reading that, and also there were like some things that like would appear, like even some things that were in the guide that were like, oh, these don't appear that often. I'd see them all the time, because it's like it just really depends on what kind of content you consume, like what you'll see. So like, you know, like for me, like I was like recently playing this visual novel, and it's like taking place in like the Edo period, and so you hear like samurai Japanese, but like so like I'll like be able to understand some of that, but then another person who also like was did like immersion like might not, because they just didn't come in contact with that, you know. So
yeah, totally depends on what you're immersing with. So you felt like reading through Take Him did help a lot.
Yeah,
but SRSing the sentences wasn't really that worth it.
It's not. I don't think it's really that worth it, because when it's tedious, it's boring. It's like the way it was in my mind is that after I finished RTK, is I was also like, oh, I have to do Take Him. Like I was just dreading it. And I was just like, okay, I'll just scroll through this. And, you know, I was like, after getting out of remembering the kanji, like going to straight to Take Aim was just, it was not the best experience. Because Take Aim isn't fun. Reading through grammar isn't fun. So,
most people.
Yeah.
And also, I gotta ask, like, how much grammar foundation do you feel like you had from before starting immersion learning? Because you said you read through Genki and you messed around on that Japanese learning server. Like, how much did you gain from that? Some people are going to be like, oh, it's not 18 months because he already knew a bunch of stuff before that.
Next to nothing. So basically, I was like in that server for like 5 months before I started age adding. And basically, I was always expecting myself to be at a certain point. Like, okay, so like 4 or 5 months, I'll be at this point. And then, like, I knew I wasn't going to get there. Somewhere in my mind, I knew I wasn't going to get there. But then, you know, come that time, I'm like, I'm still struggling to like read kana. Like,
okay, so you really weren't studying. You were really just hanging out.
I didn't do any like actual studying. Like I tried to read through some manga and stuff, but like that was about it. I didn't really have any foundation in grammar or anything like that. Like,
okay, so you were pretty close to a
nothing
clean slate.
Yeah,
when you were blink.
Like,
okay,
Genki, I went through like 100 pages and I forgot it all, and it just was boring. I didn't care. Like if I'd say what actually like gave me some foundation was like the Japanese from Zero videos. Like, because those videos like explain like the counting system and stuff like that. Like really really basic Japanese stuff that was sort of like, I guess, that gave me like just an idea of like some basic things that I just wanted to figure. Like I couldn't figure out numbers and telling time, so like I watched his videos to like figure that out and stuff.
Okay, so yeah, you also had some other tidbits of knowledge in there. But
That's
so it sounds like, you know, you finished RTK, you read through Take Him, and you were immersing here or there. So when you first jumped into this light novel, I'm guessing that at the beginning it must have been pretty incomprehensible, because it sounds like you had pretty, like, not too much of a foundation at that point.
Yeah, the only other things I read was like manga and like some things on websites randomly. Yeah, it was.
And so what was this light novel for the people that are interested?
It was, I only have the because I found it later at Book Off. I only have the second volume, but like the second and third volume physical. It's this one. It's Sekai no Owari no Ankoru. Or like Sekai, or I think Sekairoku. I think that would be the kanji. This is volume 2. I read volume 1 digitally. And I only read a part of this. I haven't touched it in like a month. I don't feel like reading it right now. I've jumped around with a bunch of light novels that I have, so I'm kind of a mess with that.
Yeah, it happens. But so basically, you found this light novel, you found a text that you were really interested in, and even though it was way above your level, as people would traditionally say, that just didn't matter, because you were really into it, you looked tons of shit up, and you plowed through
finished it. Like, man, when I finished it, I was like, yo, I finished it. And so then after that, basically, then I read the first one, Rising of the Shield Hero, like a little bit after that. I think a couple months after that. And then I think around the 1 year mark is when I actually like read through volume 2 to 5 of Shield Hero, and started reading a couple other things once I got, you know, my nice Kindle here. Which I gotta say, if you want to acquire reading a lot quicker, Kindle is your best friend, because being able to look up the words like on the fly, like while you're reading, and like especially because you can look up the words anywhere. Like you can be on the train reading, you can look up the words easily. Like the Kindle is for learning how to read Japanese. It's really good. So I'd highly recommend that if you can afford that.
Yeah, I agree. So how after you finished that first light novel, how much better at reading did you feel like you were?
It was kind of weird because I felt like I was like, yo, I'm so good at Japanese, and then like I like find like a website or something and like read through some text, and I'm just like, yeah, I really don't know a lot of words here. I don't know if I'm really that good anymore. So like I was like, cool, I made awesome progress, but also I still suck. Is basically how I felt. Yeah. But I was like, but I finally reached one of my goals, which was to read light novels.
And were you making sentence cards as you were going through that, by the way?
Yeah. Yeah, those times where I got really into something, I'd often when I could look up words easily, I'd make sentence cards. So I'm like, why not?
And like, how many a day were you usually making?
I'd say, to be completely honest with you, it's probably between 7 to 10. I didn't like I wouldn't do more than that usually. The most I think was maybe 12. I just, after going to remember the kanji, I just don't want to do a lot of reps and stuff. Like I was burnt out completely off Anki. Like even like the sentence
and it
cards
never fully went away.
Yeah,
you kind of got kind of traumatized.
Yeah, a little bit. Like it's just not fun, and especially like when I started playing games later on. Also, like the games I was talking about earlier, that duology that wasn't localized. Like I played through those also around. No, I played those towards the end of the summer of last year. I played through 3 games. One that was localized, but like I only got through like 14 hours into it, and so I replayed it in Japanese. Then I played the other 2 games in Japanese that weren't localized, and totaling like 180, like almost 160 hours or so of game time. And like the useful things that they had, like mostly they had a lot of voice acting, and voice acting helps a lot when you're first trying to read, because it makes it less stressful. Like I don't know, I feel like the strain on my brain was a lot less when I could hear the words, because like I felt like at the time I only did listening, so my listening comprehension was higher than my reading at the time, so it helped a lot. And also like since I had the voices, I could like repeat repeat the sound so that I can actually like look up the character.
Yeah.
For certain words.
Wait, what do you mean you were only doing listening? Because it sounds like from the beginning you were doing a lot of reading.
Oh, like I did like some manga, like I dabbled in manga. Like I read like a couple of volumes here and there, but most of my time was spent listening. So like the manga reading, like even though I read like a number of volumes of manga, like it's not dense enough to really say that I did a lot of reading, because like 10 manga volumes, I don't think they even like match up to like an entire like one light novel's like worth of words, honestly.
I see. Okay, so then walk us through your immersion life after you finished RTK, because you started off right off the bat with some real heavy reading, sounds like. So then how did the things go after that? Like what was your path?
I think for even though I started getting into light novels, and like when I got really hooked on one, I just read it, just because other than those times, I'd mostly just focus on listening. Like I'd just be watching anime. I like find like I watched.
Were you watching totally raw or with?
Yeah, totally raw.
Subs,
no subs. Because the reason why I watched anime with no subs was because if I want to read, I can just grab a light novel or a manga. If I turn like anime into like anime, like it's such an easy thing to use for listening. So why make it something like to read? Like there's already so much reading material. So why am I gonna make anime, which is like it's kind of hard for me to find stuff that I really like? Like why am I gonna make that into a reading thing? Like I need to like improve my listening. So I just watched it all raw, and also, I was just conscious of like my listening ability, because like even in English, like there's sometimes where I'll hear people say something and like I just won't get it at the beginning. Like that is also gonna happen in Japanese eventually. So I need to like improve my listening as much as I can, now. and then so that I don't have to go through that as much later on. And so like it's much easier for me to listen, like actually listen to and understand native Japanese, because people like they talk fast, they slur things together and stuff like that. And so like I got a little bit used to that when I was watching like Terrace House for a while, and then because that had like more real life Japanese. And then other than that, it was just really just like anime YouTube and like some like live streams and occasionally an audiobook.
So besides a few light novels that you read in here and there, mostly you were just doing raw listening.
Yeah, most of the time.
And were you making cards from that, or
not really? Because the thing is that it takes a lot more time to do it when you're listening, because you have to like listen to the whole sentence and like type it down. But like I'll forget a sentence as soon as I hear it. Like it's just like, because I'm just like, oh, whatever. And so like even if I get the one word, then I have to listen to like all the words in the entire sentence, and it's just annoying to do that. So the only time I really did that is when I had the subtitle files for the show, and so then I just turn on the subtitles, see the word, okay, and then like make a card for it. But that's like the only time. If there were no subs, I just do raw listening.
And would you look up words that you heard that you didn't know?
Yeah,
if you're just listening and you heard him say something.
Yeah, I try to look them up, like if I could. Yeah.
So like, how often would you be looking stuff up? Like once every 5 minutes, once every 2 minutes?
Yeah, it's like once. It was like be like once every 5 minutes. I don't really like I don't like pausing to like look up stuff like when I'm trying to watch a show. Like just not really me. Like I remember when I was 6 months in, I was watching Steins Gate, and I know a lot of people would be like, yo, that's science fiction. Like they have a lot of like weird words and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I don't care. It was really entertaining, but like I didn't look up words that often when I was watching it. And surprisingly enough, I still understood a lot of what happened. Like I remember I think I had a conversation in English with someone about what happened in the show, and I was like, wait a sec, I understood way more about like what I watched than I thought I did. Like I like just because the visuals helped a lot.
So from the beginning, because I'm sure, like you said, that was what, 6 months in?
With the Steins Gate thing.
So
yeah,
so in the beginning, I'm sure you didn't understand that much.
No.
And so a lot of people find it really difficult to just sit and do raw immersion when they're not understanding that much. Even if they understand a lot, the fact that they're still missing a lot of plot points and things like that just really bugs them. So did you just not have this issue?
No, I did. It really bugged me, but I was just like, I mean, like, because, I was also, I don't do it that much anymore, but I was also doing, like, passive immersion stuff. I was listening headphones all day. But, like, I was just kind of, like, I mean, even though there was some stuff I missed, I still, like, understood enough to enjoy the show.
Even at the very beginning?
Yeah, like, I think at the beginning, like, I feel like I think there were some shows I was in the middle of watching, and so then I just switched it to Japanese, like, in the middle. So, like, I think Parasite the Maxim was one of them. And I think Death Note was one of them too. Like I just like switched it to Japanese like after I was watching English for a while. So like I already knew more or less what was happening, and so it made it a bit easier for me to like kind of jump in to like switching to Japanese. Like I can't remember too much about how I felt at that point, to be honest. But I do know that like I did rewatch also some shows that I did really like and that I wouldn't mind rewatching, like No Game No Life, Katana Gatari, stuff like that.
And so in that case, it didn't matter that you weren't understanding because you already had seen it before.
Yeah,
with English subs.
And also it's just like, I mean, you start to pick up on little things really quickly, like words that are used constantly over and over again. So like I felt my comprehension rapidly growing at the time, because like I remember when I couldn't, like, Japanese sounded like gibberish to me, but then it didn't suddenly. So I was like, oh, okay.
So you were saying that even though you were missing a lot of stuff, maybe the fact that you felt that constant improvement, made
the improvement,
enjoyable.
and also the fact that like the show itself was just entertaining to watch. So I was just kind of like, I mean, I don't understand that much right now, but I mean, if it really bothers me that much, I can just rewatch it again some other time.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I think that's really key to immersion learning, is getting into that mindset of, yeah, hey, maybe I'm missing some points here or there, but I get the gist of it. I'm watching the characters on the screen, and I'm getting better all the time, and that's awesome.
Yeah, that's the other thing. When you go back to something that was hard to understand before, you're just like, whoa! Like, I remember I got, like, Danganronpa, and then I, like, just wanted to see what it was like for really quick, and I wanted to, and like when I was like really early in learning, and I like didn't understand anything in like any of the sentences, and then like I just checked it like a couple days ago, and I was like, this part has really easy Japanese. Wow, how was this hard like a year ago? I'm just realized like, wow, I've actually made improvement. Like when you see things that you couldn't do before, like then you're like, damn man, I'm pretty good somewhat. Like, you know, you feel the improvement.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's the time where you feel your progress the most, is when you consume something that you've consumed in the past. Because normally you just get so used to your current level of ability, it's hard to even imagine how... It was hard to remember how much you used to suck.
Yeah.
You forget.
Yeah. Like, I can remember, like, around 6 months in, but before that, it's kind of vague. Because it's like understanding Japanese, like, an obvious thing to me is like, duh, like, this is read like this, no duh, you know?
Yeah. And so, like, on an average week, how many cards would you say that you made? Because you said sometimes you'd make 7 to 12 a day when you get into it. Then it sounds like other times when you're just watching stuff, you would make very little. So on average, what would you say?
For a while, a week, 15 to 20, maybe. I was really not... I was never the sentence minor in the community. Like, I don't know. I just couldn't, like...
And how were you feel at the beginning? Were you like, oh, I should make more cards? Or
yeah,
did
like,
you kind of,
I felt
were
that,
you
like,
kind of enlightened? Were you just like, oh, I can just look stuff up as I come across it, and if I get
at first
exposure...
I was like, yeah, I should like make more cards, but then I'm like, but this is boring. Like, why am I gonna look up cards when I can just watch the show? And then after a while, I was just like, you know what? There are tons of people who have gotten really good like without things like Anki, so it's possible. So I don't need to worry about it that much. Like, I feel like people need to realize, like, Anki is a supplement. Like, you need to understand, it's a supplement. Like, you should use it. Like, I recommend you use it. But if you really hate it, like, and you just cannot stand doing it, you're fine. Like, as long as you immerse every day. Like, the most important thing is that you're immersing every day. Because the thing that matters the most is consistency every day. Because, like, if you, like, immerse 8 hours one day and then don't do that much for the rest of the week, you're not gonna get anywhere. Like, if you do, like, it's better to do like 1 hour a day 7 days a week than like 7 hours in one day, you know?
Yeah. And on that note, how many hours of passive and active immersion were you getting for most of your time?
Okay, so active, I'd say roughly 3-ish hours, somewhere in that range of active. And then passive could be anywhere from 3 to 4, because because before I used to have my headphones in all the time, so like on my commute to school, like from the moment I woke up in the morning basically, and so like and when I was on the train and stuff, and so it like be like 3 to 4. I remember I actually the first semester of school I was like doing the earphones in the class thing for a while. So I had a hoodie that like would cover like my ears, but it also zip up all the way, like it had like then like the neck part would also cover up, so like it would like really cover my whole head, and so they couldn't see the wire. And so I had that in my left ear, like playing stuff for like a good while. I had to stop because it was too distracting and I needed to get work done. So like I just stopped. Like, it's not worth it, guys, don't do that.
And what were you listening to?
I was just listening to audiobooks first I was listening to some audiobooks that I downloaded from like the Aozora Rodoku, I think it was. And then eventually like anime, but then I realized really quickly that I can't put anime in there because then all the scenes start coming back into my head and they distract me, so I just put it back to audiobooks. Because even though I didn't understand them and I didn't listen to them actively, like I just pick up on little things time to time, because I like hear the same ones over and over again, like to the point where like I don't even want to listen to them anymore, because even though I don't remember what's in everything, like I've listened to them so many times. Like from the moment I hear the sound at the beginning, I already know what audiobook it is that I'm listening to. Like I've listened to it too much, honestly.
Yeah, that's an interesting strategy though. That sounds like it could be good background immersion for when you don't want to get too distracted, but you can still pick up on some stuff here and there.
Yeah, but in the end, like if the background if the background immersion is too distracting, then I'd recommend just leave it alone. Like what really matters is your active. That's what matters the most, is how much you're getting active. Everything is so secondary, because thing is, most of us have a life and have things to do, and so you gotta like, you know, realize that Japanese may be one of your priorities, but you got priorities over that. So you gotta like You know, if you get the stuff you need to get done quicker, then you can come back to Japanese quicker. That's basically like how my mindset changed.
And so, was there any times where you felt like Japanese was kind of infringing on the other parts of your life? Or, I mean, 3 hours a day feels like could be pretty manageable, but
Yeah.
was there any times where that kind of stuff happened?
Well, in RTK, yeah. My social life was completely gone that whole semester. Like I was like, it was like, yo, you want to, it was like, my friend was like, yo, you want to come over to my house? I'm like, I'm sorry, I got these reviews I gotta do. like that whole semester I was just like, yo, look guys, I'm sorry, but like my friends, like, I mean, they understood, they supported me, thankfully. Of course I didn't do that again, like later on, like towards the end I started loosening up on all that completely because it was just really mentally draining. And
but what about after you finished RDK and you were just immersing and
after that,
sometimes making cards?
I was fine because, you know, then I had summer vacation, then senior year of high school started, and so then at that point, like I still hung out with my friends. Like I wouldn't really have my headphones in, like when I was going out to lunch and stuff. Like I hang out with friends like regularly, and like I wouldn't worry too much about missing immersion, a little bit of immersion every day, because it's like, I mean that. Like if I miss a little bit one day, I can just make up for it like another day or something. And as long as I'm getting like around at least I usually want to go for around 2 to 3 hours maybe. Sometimes it may even be less. Like I might even be misjudging this. So you know, the point is that I'm still like maintaining my ability and I'm getting better every day. So I wasn't stressing about it too much.
And then was there ever weekends where you would just do it all day and things like that?
Yeah, yeah. On the weekends, like. I mean, the thing is, like, I like try to do it all day, but it's just that, I did for a good while, like I did, but then there would just be sometimes I get that itch. Like there was like, oh, this English translated Chinese web novel that I like stopped reading like 8 months ago. I was like, yo, there's like 300 new chapters to read, and then I remember I like binged one for like a week and like only immersed a little bit. And at the time, I was like, damn. But then I was also like, but it was worth it, though. Like, cause I enjoyed myself. And then when I come back to Japanese, I'm like, all right, let's get this bread, you know? Like, so, I mean, but I think that's only really something that's okay to do. Like, in terms of, like, binging something for, like, a whole week and not do that much immersion. Like, that's only, like, once you get a bit better. Because the lower level you are, the quicker your ability drops if you don't do it for a while. Like, you have to, like, be consistent and, like, making sure that you're doing Japanese every day.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I find that that's true in my experience as well. And so, what did your friends think of this pursuit that you had?
They're just, like, you're finally...
Like, did they really know that you were doing this crazy thing?
They're like, man, you're really going for the pinnacle of weeb right now. Like, basically, it was like, you're gonna become an ascended weeb now. And I'm just... Because... That's basically it.
Like, what about now that you're actually, like, that you can just consume all your favorite games and shows in the original form? Are they kind of jealous?
My cousin is, because he really wants Persona 5 The Royal, but he can't play it because it's in Japanese when it first launches. But if I wanted to, I could buy it and play it on Japanese launch. The only reason I'm not is because it's too expensive, because Japanese games, the prices are more ridiculous than in the US. They go to like the equivalent of like $80 to $90 here if they're a popular series, and
ouch.
Yeah, that it hurts. Like, it's like, I think it's like 8,500 yen. I was just like, no.
Well, what about when you actually got to play that game that was actually the whole reason you wanted to start Japanese?
Oh yeah, like it was wild because like the vocabulary when I first started, it wasn't that hard because a lot of it is like conversations between characters, but it was just like I was just sitting there like, because I like mowed through that game, like I played it nonstop. I was just like, dude, I'm really playing this game in Japanese and I'm like actually getting through it. Like I was using a Japanese guide to like figure out stuff even at the time. So I was just like, I was like, man, I'm really getting somewhere. And like the fact that I could understand most of what happened also, like it was really satisfying. Like I was like, wow. Like I don't know, like, because when you first start like learning with immersion, you don't feel like it's gonna work. Like you always have that doubt in your mind, like, yo, what if this doesn't work? But then it's like seeing that progress, I was like, yo, like this is awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. So to kind of summarize what I mean, we ended up getting a little bit all over the place, but
Yeah.
to summarize your journey so far, it sounds like you started off with doing RTK, you went balls to the wall with that, kind of burned out, and then after that, you took a mostly listening heavy approach, where you were just listening while you were actively watching things. Every once in a while, you'd read a book, and you would look up a lot of stuff as you went, as you came across it. But you wouldn't make too many cards, and you put in, maybe around 3 hours active immersion, another 3 hours passive immersion, and you still had a social life, you still had a life outside of Japanese, but you were also, for the most part, very consistent with besides a few exceptions over here, and your comprehension naturally continued to grow over time. Anything else notable that I'm missing?
Oh... Not really sure. Oh yeah, there was this one thing that was really useful. There was like this app on Android. What was it called? It was like Kanji Yomikata, and it's like one of those apps where you can like write out the characters to figure it out. It's really useful when you're reading a physical book because and there's one of the reasons why I also like found RTK so useful is because now I knew more or less how to write the characters. So when I like find a character and I didn't know the reading or something, like if I was reading a paper book, I could like just write it out and look it up, which was really useful.
I see. So you're saying it's just an app that let you physically draw kanji you didn't know, so that you could look them up.
Yeah, which was really useful.
Also, I know I have an iPhone. I don't know about Androids, but on iPhone you can actually turn on a Chinese keyboard that works that way, that you just draw it out by hand, and it actually works. It's built into the phone, and you can type it in at any location in the phone.
Oh,
So
that's
cool.
actually really cool. Yeah. I guess the only thing missing, I guess, later will be like when I started developing an interest in pitch accent somewhat.
Yeah. Oh, also that reminds me. What about monolingual transition?
Ah, yeah. Oh, yeah. So monolingual transition. I started really early. I think it was maybe around the 7th month or 8th month mark. Like I was basically what I was doing is like, I try to look up stuff in the monolingual dictionary, and then if I couldn't get it, then I look it up in the English dictionary. That's kind of how I went, so that I can like start building a foundation, like to like slowly do the monolingual transition, because it's a process. And I mean, even now, like there's still a lot of times where I can like look up a word and I still won't get the monolingual definition completely.
And what dictionaries were you using? What monolingual dictionaries?
So I have Colibri, and so I was using I was mostly using Shimekai, Kojien, Daijirin, and there's this other one. I forgot what the
Meikyo? Daiji-san?
yeah, Meikyo. That's what it was. Meikyo. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, those are the good ones. So you had multiple dictionaries.
Yeah.
To reference.
Yeah. That was really useful, and so that's kind of how like I went about like going about the monolingual transition. And like like the other thing is like you have to be patient with it, because you have to sometimes, like it's really good to actually just sit down and like look through the definition stuff and like the different symbols and all that in the dictionary. Because like for example, like in these dictionaries, like sometimes they'll show like one word but then like multiple ways in that they're used, like they'll like be marked 1, 2, and 3 and stuff like that. And so at the beginning I didn't even pay attention to that, and so that probably led to like some confusion in terms of like the context I was trying to look it up in, and like the definition that I found. And also like there's sometimes there are things in brackets that I like gloss over but like actually contain like useful information and stuff like that. So like it just, and I was really impatient, but it's just like now I know like you gotta take your time, like just like read through stuff even if you don't get it at first. Like just take a note of it.
Wait, so did you basically just jump into the monolingual dictionary and kind of just ignored a lot of the stuff that was going on, try to find the meat, and then over time you slowly realized what all that other stuff actually symbolized?
Yeah, more or less. Like sometimes I also look up words in the definition just time to time, just to see if I could figure out the definition of that and then learn the meaning of the word I was looking for. But if I couldn't do that like right away, like I wouldn't do like like keep going and going and going to like looking at that. No, that's too much of a waste. At that point, like if I couldn't understand the word to the monolingual dictionary, I'd just look it up in the English one, and that'd be it. And sometimes I still use the English dictionary. Sometimes if it's like for nouns, so like certain places or something, like because like they'll explain like a place, but like I'm kind of confused, but it might be something I already know. And so like sometimes I'll just check the English dictionary to see if I already know it or something, or if it's just like, because like yeah, it's good to be able to understand things like in through the raw Japanese, but like if it's like a location or something, like big deal.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. For a lot of nouns, the definition isn't actually a definition. It's more like a encyclopedia entry. Like if
Yeah.
you look up the name of a type of plant or type of animal, it's going to give you this like biological, like, oh, it belongs to this family of species and it has
Yeah.
these qualities. That's not actually what you're looking for. You just
Yeah.
want to know what it refers to.
Yeah.
So, and so basically, so it sounds like you took a pretty laxed approach to the monolingual transition where
Yeah.
you would just look stuff up and read through it, and if you still didn't get it, you just look it up in the English dictionary and move on. And sometimes you would do recursive lookups. We didn't take it too far.
Yeah.
And so was this in the midst of your immersion? Because you
Yeah.
said you weren't making that many cards, so you would just be immersing. You wanted to look up a word that came up in your immersion. You just started installing the habit of looking it up in the monolingual dictionary first and trying to take a glance at that before using the English dictionary.
Yeah, that's basically what I did, more or less. I just really wanted to go monolingual. Like I was just like, yo, I'll feel so good about myself if I can just like understand the words monolingually. So I just went for it, basically.
And so how long did it take until you started to get comfortable and stopped having to look at the English dictionary so much?
I think it was sometime this year. Cause like monolingual transition, like people think it might take like 1 or 2 months. It's not really because there's so much information in them. So like it depends on what word you're looking up. Like the difficulty of definition depends on like the word you're looking up. And so like it wasn't really until like sometime around maybe 13 months or so, I think, that I got, not 13 months, like 14-ish, that I was like sort of comfortable looking up in the monolingual dictionary most of the time. And there's also like sometimes where I try to look up a word in one of these dictionaries, but like I don't get enough information, or like there's only one entry in one dictionary and I have like no info. Then I'll look it up in the English one because I just want to know what this is. And also when there's like sometimes, because you know how like people always created like these new random words, like sometimes they're not gonna even be in that dictionary.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
I'll
New
just check
slang and stuff.
yeah, so like I would like check in the English one because those get up, because like it's online, so it'll get updated.
Well, another option that I would recommend is just
It's
Google
looking
it in Japanese.
in Japanese.
Google.
Yeah, I do that.
Yeah.
So I do that sometimes, but like sometimes it's just like a little weird, like figuring out like where to go, because like so many like results come up, and then it's like I'm looking through like some of these explanations and I'm like getting even more confused sometimes. And so, but yeah, I've started doing that a little bit more recently, and I should try to make a habit.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So it kind of sounds like you had a kind of gradual transition process that happened over the course of 6 months going monolingual. And so I'd say that kind of makes sense. It's kind of like a trade-off. You can spend 1 or 2 months really focused on making the transition happen and putting in a lot of time and energy into that. And then I feel like you can get to the point where you can function monolingually pretty well if you do that. But you kind of took a different approach of just being, pretty relaxed about it and doing a little bit at a time. And then in a way, you were able to do it completely painlessly.
Yeah, most of the time. Like, I mean, it's not like there weren't times where I didn't get frustrated, but...
Yeah, that's cool. That's an interesting way. You kind of just integrate it in a little bit at a time. And how did you feel being able to function monolingually benefited you?
Well, for one, so it's kind of like on it's kind of like that video where you made that like language isn't math. Like, you know how like Japanese people like just they express, like sometimes they express the same ideas differently, or they just express different ideas. And so like going through the monolingual dictionary, like you kind of get more of a sense of like how like Japanese defines itself, like the language. And also it's just like you're not really also the feeling of not having to translate stuff in your head and you just know it, like it's a lot quicker to recall that information and like bring it up if you're trying to speak or something. Like it's like, I don't know, like you can like talk about it like a lot more easily. Like I find that after like looking through a lot of definition stuff in the dictionary, you kind of learn how to explain things because you've been reading so many explanations. When I like in the little conversations that I've had with some Japanese people on like Discord servers, like I can explain certain things, like I can explain how I learned Japanese, and also I can explain like just like kind of like little random things that I learned and stuff like that. And so I think that the monolingual dictionary is one of the things that really helped me do that, and it's honestly a really useful skill.
Yeah. At the same time, another simple benefit that I think a lot of people overlook is you get to spend more total time with the language.
Yeah.
Because even though it's just a few seconds here and there, it might add up, right? Every time that you're seeing an English definition, instead you're just getting more reading practice. Because that definition is a sentence in Japanese.
Yeah, and also you just get used to seeing Japanese all the time, because when I first started, before I read my first light novel, I looked through another book, but like because the Japanese was so dense, like I wasn't used to it because I was just like in manga and stuff. So like there was so much Japanese that like my eyes were just like, what am I looking at? Like I could not register any information there because it was just like my brain was like overloading. And so like when you see Japanese all the time, it eventually just becomes like whatever. Like even if you see like
you build up that muscle.
Yeah, like even if you see like a dense page full of Japanese, you're like, eh.
Yeah, I think that's really important. That's something you only really get through immersion, so that your brain stops feeling like it's work to understand Japanese.
Yeah.
It's just normal.
Yeah. I miss, like, it's still more work than English, but, like, I mean...
You'll get there.
Yeah. Like, for example, like, my reading speed, like, it really depends, because, like, if I'm really into it, I could get through, like, I remember, like, I was reading this one light novel series, and I read through, like, 4 volumes in, like, a week and a half. And which if I was reading in English, of course I could have gone through it faster. Like my sister like started getting into light novels, and she like in English, and like she can finish them the same day she gets them, because it's easy for her. But like I can't do the same with Japanese. But like it is still improving, like especially like when it's full of characters that I already know. Like it's easier to like skim through, like when you're looking through kanji, like it's just easy. Oh, you just get it. Like, there are a lot of times where even I don't... This is another reason why RTK is so useful, but there are a lot of times where I'll see a character that I don't know the reading of, but I know the character. And so, like, I know kind of what it means, even if I don't know how to read it. And so, like, I still get what's going on. Of course, knowing how to read it would be nice, so then I can actually use it. But, like, when I'm, like, really into a book and I just want to know what happens, I'm just like, oh, okay, cool, I know this first, so I can just keep going.
Cool. So then you mentioned pitch accent.
Mm-hmm.
So what has your experience been with that?
Basically, I remember Dogen in one video, he like, because apparently MacBooks have a pitch accent graph built into the thing, and so like Dogen put that on the screen on his video, so I screenshotted it so that I'd have the like the graph like how pitch accent works. So I have like the oraka atamataka, like how it kind of works, like a visual of it.
That's just Daijidin, by the way. It comes with the Daijidin dictionary.
Okay. But it's just like I couldn't find it like a graph like that anywhere else, so I just screenshotted it. And also I don't know if I would have to pay for it somewhere else, so I was just like, yeah. So yeah, I had that, and so then I kind of started trying to learn because I was just interested at the time.
Yeah. Well, even to back up, when did pitch accent first enter your radar? Like, when did you first hear that it was a thing?
I think the first is just like Dogen's content in general. That's where I first heard about it from. I didn't pay too much attention to it at that time though, but I kept a note of it just because Dogen's Japanese sounded really good. So, and then like eventually like you started learning, you started mentioning it. But the thing is that I didn't really know how to go about learning it because there aren't really any English resources to learn about pitch accent aside from Dogen's videos. Like I there's like almost no information on that. Most people don't even know about it. Like you go into a random Discord area, like, oh, blah blah pitch accent, they're like, what's that? And I'm like, it's part of Japanese.
Yeah, it's bad.
And so basically I was like trying to hear it for a while. See, the thing is that I think the thing with me and pitch accent is that sometimes I feel like I hear it right. Like sometimes I like listen to a word and I'm like, wait, I think it was this pitch, and then I look it up to check if I was right. And sometimes I get it right, sometimes I get it wrong, but sometimes I wonder if I was mistaking it for intonation or volume and not pitch.
Yeah. I think volume is definitely tricky, because when I first try to talk with people who are learning pitch accent, I'm trying to teach them, and I'm like, listen to this. How does this sound to you? They definitely mistake volume for pitch. They think that the accent was on the one that was loudest, even though it's not necessarily the one. And I think that's just practice. You just got to train your brain to really be able to tell the difference.
Yeah, because there's sometimes where the pitch went down, but the volume felt like it went up a bit. Or like, It's like, words that ended with like an E, like the E sounded louder, but the pitch was actually going down. And that tripped me up so bad.
And by the way, how far into learning Japanese did you start really trying to hear the pitch accent?
maybe, I want to say maybe like 4 months ago or something, 4 or 5 months ago. Like I didn't pay that much attention to it at first. It's just that eventually I just, or maybe it was even at 1 year. I can't remember that well. But basically my thought process was that I wasn't at the time, I wasn't that interested in pitch accent, but I was like, I should at least learn like the basics of like kind of what it is, how it works, and like if I look up words, like just have the accent dictionary in Colibri so that I can like check the accent and like listen to it. Because sometimes there's some words that have like multiple accents, and so like I'll try to play both audio files and just to see like how it sounds different. And that's kind of all I really did. And aside from trying to actually hear the accent, like when watching media and stuff. In all honesty, I don't know how far I'll go with pitch accent. That'll really just depend on like if I really feel like doing it. But at the very least, just because I started working and I was like, oh, why not? I bought the big old
Nice.
in this case accent
Wow.
dictionary. It was like $56 because you gotta pay for the shipping also.
Yeah.
But
It's funny to see what it looks like new because mine is so like worn out. And I was like, whoa, I forgot how good how nice it used to look before all the sparkles came off on my hands while I was using the dictionary.
I didn't even realize there was sparkle. Oh wow.
No, it's gonna happen. Like now, every time I use just from picking it up now, I already can see like when I shine my hand on the light, like, little sparkles, little glitter will get
Oh
all
my
over your
God.
hands. It sucks. But
Yeah, so basically, I guess for the people who don't know what this dictionary works, so basically there's like an introduction, and then there's like all the like a bunch of words and the accents for them, and then there's towards the end, which is where the real information is like how pitch actually works, like sort of the rules for it. You had like 2 unlisted videos, like talking about pitch accent. I saw them. It was kind of interesting how you could like you could simplify the pitch accent rules, like for example like the accent
that was
would
only
drop
2 different types of verbs.
yeah
You mean?
yeah like it drop like
Pitch accent wise.
like when you conjugate it, like for the knife formula, like drop like before the na, like it'll drop like before two syllables before.
Yeah, I'll put a link to that video for whoever's interested who doesn't know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But-
I was reading that and I was like, oh, that's like an entire big category of words that now I can sort of figure out like how the accent's gonna work. Like basically all I can say about pitch accent is that like it's complicated, but then it's like if you know some of the rules, you'll be able to get your accent will be like more consistent in certain aspects. I mean, you can still mess up on a lot of stuff, but like it'll be a bit more consistent and just sound a bit better. Though again, I'm not one to say anything. I haven't like actually achieved any real progress with it, and so that'll just really depend.
But over
on
the
me.
past few months of just paying more attention to pitch accent, do you feel like your ability to hear it in native Japanese has improved?
I mean, well, it depends, because like my cousin, like as I was starting to do more pitch accent, my cousin came over, and so like it's been like a month, like since I've actually like really actively listened to a lot of Japanese. Like most recently I've been reading a lot. I'm gonna start doing more listening soon, and like try to get back into that, because I was like starting to somewhat hear the accent. Like again, I'm not sure if I was hearing the volume or like the intonation. Sometimes like it's really confusing, like to figure out like what it is exactly that you're hearing, because like you think you hear the pitch accent, but you might not. It might just be volume that you're hearing, and so like I just like am guess myself every time.
Yeah, I mean, I would encourage you to just keep going, just keep trying, and then eventually things will just get clear and clear naturally. It's just a natural part of the learning process, that confusion.
Yeah.
The fact that you can even notice that you're confused and how you might be confused, that's a really good sign, so
Yeah, but
you'll get it.
like buying this dictionary, I mean, like I don't know. I just wanted to have it on paper because it's easier to read stuff on paper. And I'm surprised because on these dictionaries like these, they use a lot. They limit what kind of characters they use, so it's actually not that hard to read once you reach a certain level. And so that's one.
You mean like the back of the book, like the explanation?
Yeah, like they don't use like excessively like complicated words and like obscure kanji and stuff like that, like because they're the NHK and they have to like make it like read accessible, because I think they're usually only just supposed to use the Joyo kanji, so like
Yeah, I think so.
yeah, so the amount of kanji is limited to like those like 2,000 or so. so it's a lot easier to read. Though there's some words that sometimes I don't know, but it's not enough to like make it so that I can't understand pitch accent since I already have like a basic understanding.
Cool. So you're able to learn pitch accent in Japanese.
Yeah, more or less. Because like right now, like it's either that or Dogen's videos. Those are kind of like the only two ways to do it right now. It's either you have to know Japanese or you like pay for Dogen's content. That's really the only two options right now. But me personally, I'm retain information better like when I actually like read stuff personally instead of like sitting down watching a video. That like I have to like sit through and like go at the video's pace and not on my own pace.
Yeah, same.
It's just not that fun. But yeah.
But cool. So I guess the last big thing to talk about would be output.
Oh yeah.
What's your story with output?
Okay, so I think the first time I really outputted was like 10-11 months, I think. A little before a year. I hopped back into the English Japanese language exchange to talk with one my old Japanese friends that I made in there, and it was like a year since I talked to the guy, and it was kind of funny because he was actually blown away, like just because of like how much progress I made in a year.
So this is the first time that you spoke Japanese in a year, right?
Yeah.
So what was that like? Did it come out? Were you able to express yourself?
It was weird because like my mouth muscles weren't used to the movements of Japanese, so it sounded kind of janky, but like I could understand what was said to me, and then like I could more or less like say mostly what I want to say because the conversations didn't get like really too crazy. Like there was simple stuff like learning Japanese and stuff like that, so I could talk about that fairly easily because I've always been thinking about like stuff to say about that anyways. Like in terms of what I wanted to say, I could more or less say it. It's just like it just come out a bit janky because of like one being nervous. Like my body was just vibrating and like my nerves were just rattling because like it was like nervousness but also excitement at the same time. But it was a pretty good experience. But it also, I realized that one of the good things about output is that it makes it really obvious where your flaws lie.
Points.
Because
yeah, you
realize because you're like try to talk about something and then your words get caught in your throat. You're like, oh wait, I don't know how to talk about this. I just realized that. Like, or like, oh, I didn't know how to say this simple word. Like you could have been immersing for a whole year and then you didn't figure out how to say shoe, and then when you like, oh, so I bought these. Oh wait, what was it? And so
things you put on your feet.
Yeah. Basically, so I had to like I do like a imawashi. Like I had to like play with the words. Like
talk your way around it.
Yeah. So that was fun.
So what was your own reaction? Were you surprised at your own ability?
I was surprised. I was like, one, wow, there are a decent amount of flaws, but like also, wow, I can hold the conversation in Japanese for like an hour or something, because that's around how long I was in a conversation for.
So up until that point, did you really believe that if you just keep getting immersion input, if you just keep immersing, eventually output ability will come naturally, or were you still skeptical of that?
It's more like I sort of believed it, but it's like when it actually happens, you're like, damn, it really does work. And but like, of course, without like actual practice, it still comes out a bit janky. I mean, you could just talk to people and just like kind of like work it out that way if you wanted to, but I think I'll still like time to time I'll like still practice shadowing, but I think I want to do that after I've read a little more on pitch accent, just because maybe I can actually try to integrate that into when I start shadowing, just to be a little more effective, because like I'm not really in a rush to speak right now because I have like no Japanese people around me, and I'm not going to Japan anytime soon because I don't have any money, and so like I don't really have to worry about that all that much.
Yeah, plus you'll continue to build your potential as you get more input, and so when you do start putting more active energy into output, you'll be even better and you'll improve even more quickly. So
yeah, I basically just want to like it to blow like my first video away, because the first video, I mean, regardless of what anyone says, listening to that Japanese was painful for me. Like listening to myself speak it like that was painful. I couldn't rewatch the video. I couldn't rewatch that video, honestly.
Yeah. Well, we can talk. I want to talk about that too. But so just to rewind a little bit. So you said the first time you really outputted and experienced how that works was 11 months in. So after that point, how often would you speak, and for what amount
For
of
now, I
time?
can say confidently that it probably hasn't reached like 15 hours total even. Maybe close, but definitely not even 20 hours total outputting, basically.
So it was kind of just sporadic conversations here or
Yeah.
there, but you never really started regularly doing it.
Yeah, I didn't do it regularly. I just do it like, if I like just really felt like speaking Japanese, like every like 2-3 weeks or every 1-2 months, then I'd like just hop in, like see like the Japanese people I know, and like kind of have some conversations for like 1 or 2 hours.
So you haven't, for the most part, you haven't really started outputting yet.
Yeah.
It's not really a part of your regular
Yeah,
schedule or anything.
yeah. Like I don't do it. I've never done it regularly. It's always been sporadic. Like, and it hasn't happened that often. It's like it's like every once in a
Yeah.
while. So like it's enough time for me to like not be able to like even like move my mouth the way I want to speak properly.
But do you still feel improvement each time you go in terms of your ability to formulate thoughts in Japanese and things?
So
like
like
that?
I actually like just a little before we started video, I was actually talking to one of my old Japanese friends again. I guess maybe because when I made the video speaking Japanese, like because I went to it like without any ideas of what to talk about and stuff, so like it was really random. But I just really wanted to do it. But then when I was talking to him, like since already had a topic, they were talking about, like it was a lot easier to kind of get my thoughts out, and also because like I was just using like straight like casual conversational Japanese and just like chilling and stuff like that. Like there wasn't really that much of like that nervous energy or anything. So like a lot of what I said came out a lot more smoothly. I mean, there's some times where like the grammar would be a little janky, but that's just because like I like be trying to say something, but then I'll like stop and then like, oh no wait, and then like switch to something else. Like basically regular conversation stuff.
And so you said, so like when you're saying sometimes things come out janky, so does that mean that the moment you say it, you know that you messed up, basically?
It's like I say it and it's like, oh, I know there was a better way to say that, but like I like couldn't get it out the better way, or like I could like it's either when I tell something is wrong or like the pronunciation or something felt off, or the grammar felt really weird in that situation, and I knew it didn't go like that, but like I just like I couldn't like really like string the words together the way I wanted to. Because I know that probably subconsciously I do know how to do it. It's just that when I'm like actively speaking, like, because like the way I like to think of it is that before you start outputting, all of your Japanese ability is basically passive, because all you do is take input, and so that's like all passive. And so then when you start outputting is finally when you start actively using that information. And the thing is, since all of your information is still passive, like you still, it's like it takes time for it to like build like an active like vocabulary and grammar and stuff that you can use regularly, like easily, because it's just like since you haven't actively used it, you're still like your brain is still confused on like how to like do like repeat what it's been listening to all the time, like in like the same way, like at least in your conscious mind.
Yeah, but if you're saying you can tell, like you said, you think that deep down in there it knows how to do it, it's just having issues with performance, basically.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's how you know that things are going correctly, because if you can know that you're messing up, then you can fix that.
Yeah.
Right. The real issue is that if you hadn't put in all those hours of immersion, then you wouldn't be able to tell when it was going well and when it wasn't going well. It would just be completely, you'd be left in the dark. And so at least now you know when it goes wrong, and then you know how to fix that, right? It's just a matter of practice just to get things running smoothly. And that's not that hard to do.
Yeah. Because like some ways are like, oh, I don't know if I should link it with this particle or that particle. It's like sort of things like that usually get me. I was like, I was actually even like looking over like the title of like my Japanese video. I was like, wait, does it actually go like that? But then like looked it over and over again. I was like, actually, you know what? It's probably fine. But like I had to like sit there for a while. Like I sat there for like a good 5 minutes. I was like, is this title okay? Because like I second guess myself a lot. So
yeah, no, that's a good thing, because that way if there are any bugs in your Japanese system, you'll catch them that way. You don't want to be cocky.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that's the one thing I can't be at this point. Because every time you feel like you get good, you run into something that tells you, yeah, you suck. Like again, you're like, man, I'm good at Japanese. Then you like try to read something. You're like, fuck, I don't get any of this. And so then you're like, oh, well, back to square one.
Yeah, so on that note, I guess to kind of finish up, so tell us about what it's like to be you regarding Japanese right now at this point, 18 months into the process.
It's really natural. Like, I kind of can't get myself away from Japanese at this point. I don't know how. Like I'm kind of just stuck with Japanese at this point. Like I don't know what to do without it. I don't know what to do in my life without it. Like, I mean, I'm playing like I play most of my video games in Japanese now. Not most, like pretty much all, unless there's something that I don't want to buy in Japanese because money. But I've only started like time to time playing games in English. That only stuff that I've already owned before. Like only time to time. I've only done that like very like a week or two ago recently. Before that, I didn't touch any of that. It's only because I've finally made some progress that I'm allowing myself to sort of do that. But before that, like that's not something that I would let myself do.
Yeah, and what about like comprehension? What percentages would you put to your comprehension of different types of media and stuff?
See, that's the thing. Now I know how everyone feels when they get asked this question because it's really weird. Because when it's light novels, I can say like about 85 to 90%, 95% of what's going on. But it's like, this is like the comprehension of like what's going on. The actual word, like the amount of words I understand, that could be anywhere in between 60 to 80. Because it depends on like the genre, especially, and also like what kind of content we're in. So like, I've got this one novel, Kinokuni yesterday. Is this one? Here we go.
Not a light novel, just a normal novel.
Yeah, normal novel. And I like read through it, and like there are some words that like for example, like the that kanji for like the foot of a mountain, like that came up, and I was like, whoa, I haven't seen that in forever. But like now, because I'm like, fumoto, yeah, like I haven't seen that character in forever, and because it didn't come up in any of my other immersions. So, you know, of course I didn't really learn it, but like the Japanese word for it, but then now it's suddenly coming up. And so it just really depends on content. But usually I can, but like if I were to say, like if I were to like read something like without a dictionary or something, I'd probably at least be able to get at least 70% of what's going on, probably. Because even if I don't know the reading of the kanji, I still might just know what the kanji means. And so then from there, I'd still be able to figure out more or less what's going on. But like, I probably miss a lot of minor details.
Yeah, well, that's a novel, right? Novels are pretty much the pinnacle of difficulty when it comes to reading.
Yeah.
What about like, when you're just watching anime and things like that?
Oh no, watching anime I'm usually fine. Like like regular game, like usually like I don't have any problems at this point.
So like if you had to give a percentage to when you're watching your average anime.
Anime is like 95 to 100%. Like there might be like some words that I don't know. Like I like Dr. Stone came out recently, and I was watching that. And so like it was like mentioning some scientific stuff, like about like oxygen and stuff, and like certain like chemical compounds or whatever. And so of course like I haven't run into that, and so like I didn't know anything about that. And so, you know, then I was like, oh well, there's something else I don't know. And so that was like one thing. But like if it's like another game like from this series, which I've already played like 5 games of in Japanese, and like one other I like played through 50 hours or something, like I can understand it without a problem.
So really it's just specialty vocabulary is the only real thing that trips you up?
Pretty much. And also like there's still some general vocab that might trip me, but it depends, because the thing is that I've only really read, like in terms of actual books, like light novels and novels. Like I haven't really read like any nonfiction, but that's just mostly because I don't have any interest in nonfiction all that much. Like it's kind of boring. I like reading stuff with like I like some fantasy stuff or stuff like that. That's really like what I enjoy reading. But I do think the one thing I do think I need to do is one, like learn a little, at least the like geographical stuff, like in terms of like the names of Japan. Like prefixtures and stuff, because that comes up often. And also a bit about history, because especially that one game, that one version I was playing that took place during the Edo period, like they mentioned a lot of historical stuff in there. So like if I already knew that beforehand, it would have been way easier for me to like understand what's going on. The one thing I can say though that really trips me up is names. I cannot read a Japanese name and then remember it just like that. It doesn't happen. Like I think Japanese names are probably the most annoying thing in like
takes
reading.
A while to get comfortable with.
Like remembering names, that's so hard to do.
Yeah, because basically you have to learn a whole different set of readings for kanji. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, after a while, you just gotta memorize that. Like the kanji for one, right? Like ichi, it's like, oh, well, if it's a name, it can be read kazu, and then it's like, but only if it's a name, right? It's never read kazu in normal Japanese. So you just gotta remember for a whole bunch of kanji, there's a unique name reading, and it takes a while to get comfortable.
Yeah, a long while because there's a lot of names and you're just like, at this point, like sometimes my brain will just fry and I'm just like, okay, I'll just basically I just try to memorize. I can't even memorize full names. I only remember like either the last name or their first name usually. Sometimes.
Yeah, you'll get better at that. It's just a matter of getting more used to Japanese.
Yeah.
But so on that note, I mean, sounds after 18 months, you can consume all media that you actually are interested in, and pretty much never get lost. Some stuff with anime, you get as close to 95-100% comprehension. You can express yourself pretty easily at a pretty high level, even though you've hardly ever practiced. So I'd say, I mean, of course, I'm sure there's many different areas that you want to improve on and get better at. But for 18 months, especially given that you didn't throw away your life for this or anything, you were able to keep, go to school, also have friends. Sounds like you are really kind of killing this game from my point of view at this point. But so what are your future, like, where do you see yourself in the next couple years with Japanese? Like, do you want to learn another language? Do you want to, like, how far do you want to take Japanese? Well, what are your thoughts on that?
In terms of learning another language, that's not gonna happen. That's too much work. Japanese was enough. I'm native in English and Spanish. The most I might do is like bring up my Spanish again. Because my Japanese is better than my Spanish at this point in terms of like the content I can talk about and like the stuff I can consume. Like my Japanese is probably better than my Spanish at this point.
That's very impressive.
But that's just because like I only speak Spanish like at home. Like I don't really use it outside of that, and so I don't really get exposed to anything outside of that. But Japanese, I've been exposed to a lot of different things. So yeah, 3 languages is enough for me, I think.
I gotta ask though, you said that you really like these Chinese web novels that you retranslate into English.
Here's the thing though, right? Is because, it's like, okay, how about we learn Chinese for that? But then it's like, these translators, like, for Chinese web novels, they're way more dedicated to their translations than, like, fan translators for Japanese stuff. For, like, the really awesome translators who, like, are doing this almost for, like, a living, like, there's one guy, Deathblade, who, like, would translate, like, 3 chapters a day, which is a lot of Chinese per day. And so, like, he'd finished getting through, like, these, like, 1,300 chapter web novels in, like, 1 or 2 years. And so there's a decent amount of that kind of stuff where they release, like, new translated chapters, like, daily. In Japanese stuff, that doesn't really happen. And so, like, I don't really feel a need to go out of my way to learn Chinese for that. Like, Japanese, I felt like I had to if I wanted to get access to a lot of stuff.
So you don't have a desire to understand it in its original language or anything like that? It's more just a pragmatic, like, can I consume the story?
Yeah, basically. Like, because with Japanese, like, it wasn't... like, the problem wasn't that I wanted to learn Japanese so much as, like, I wanted to read this or something, but it's not in... but, like, it's not in English.
Yeah, just practical...
And also, like, I'd have to wait.
To know the language.
I have to wait for localizations when it's like, but if I have Japanese, I don't need to wait, like, another 5 years for the chapters to come out. They're already there. And if there are new light novel releases that look interesting, I can just pick them up if I want to. And, you know, like, I don't have to wait, like, 5 years for this one game to finally release in the West or something. Like, I can just play it, you know? And so that was kind of my mindset. I have come to, like, actually like Japanese a lot. It's just a thing that happens, because I like... Yes, I do like kanji, even though I hate it at the same time. Because Japanese won't function without kanji, but at the same time, I want kanji to go away.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah.
So, now that Japanese is, you know, a permanent fixture of your life, how far are you taking it? Are you kind of just planning on slowly improving indefinitely?
More or less. Like, I think... because I feel like... one of the things I feel like I want to do is, like, hopefully, like, by 3 years, so, you know, like, a year and a half later, maybe reach the point where I can actually, like, comfortably call myself fluent, I guess. Though for other people who are also learning, you'll realize really quickly that fluent is really hard to explain. You really can't explain fluency, because, like, by some people's standards, I might be fluent.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people would watch your video of you speaking Japanese and say, "Whoa, you're so fluent."
And I don't consider myself that at all, just because of like how limited my knowledge is kind of limited to like certain aspects. I mean, I can like regular conversation stuff I can still like keep up with, but like for example, just me not being in Japan on its own is already a disadvantage in terms of like what I can talk about, because there's some things that people only talk about regularly in person and never really online.
Yeah.
So, there's stuff like that. So before I even go to Japan, there are a lot of things that like people like talk about regularly in Japan that they wouldn't do here or online. And so until I go to Japan, probably won't get access to that, and stuff like that. But like, I guess like my real thing with like the like calling myself like not wanting to call myself fluent is really my reading ability, because I feel like I need to have a like I like where I can like read stuff comfortably like without having to pull out a dictionary. Basically, like when I'm reading English, I don't go and pull out a dictionary most of the time. Like I want to be able to do that with Japanese, and I feel like until I reach that point, I probably won't be able to call myself fluent. And there's also the fact that, actually, this is another thing I randomly thought of, but in terms of listening, there's kind of a limit to how far you can go, because there's only so many things that people will actually talk about and they'll actually be able to listen to, but there's way more in terms of reading. Like there's way more content in terms of like what people will talk about like in a book, that like there are kanji that people will use in a book but they would never say as a word and stuff like that. Like
yeah.
And so like there's much more in that aspect of Japanese than listening. And so I also feel like even if I go far with like this like listening and pitch accent and stuff, like once you can understand like shows and stuff, like shows, news and all that, and like regular conversations, and maybe politics if you're into that, like there isn't really that much more to do for most people, I feel like, unless you have like something that you're really interested in that I don't know. But then when it comes to like reading and writing, there's a lot to explore. And so there's like, so like for me, like I like wanted to focus on listening for a while, but then at this point I'm just like I'll like listen to as much as I can, but also like I won't feel bad if like read for an entire day and don't listen, because like it's gonna happen at some point eventually, because you're just gonna run out of stuff that you can gain from in terms of listening material. But like when it comes to reading material, there's like such a wide range of topics to cover that you'll never really run out of stuff. New stuff.
And it kind of sounds like you're really talking about vocabulary.
Yeah, vocabulary. Yeah.
Basically, yeah, there's just a lot of words that are almost only used in writing, but eventually you'll learn all those words too. It'll take a while. That's something that the SRS would probably help with. Like that was my strength, is I was always an SRS junkie, making tons of cards, and so my strength was I ended up knowing a lot of words. And I know it probably feels endless, like, man, there's so many words. Well, when am I going to learn them all? And you never learn them all, but you do get to the point where it's pretty rare for you to come across something that you don't know. So I'm sure you'll if you start focusing on reading, I'm sure you'll get there pretty soon.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because I didn't focus too much on reading for a good while. Like, even when I was reading, like, some, like, light novels and stuff, like, the total number of light novels I've read, like, to completion is probably, like, 10, 11. And in the grand scheme of things, that's not a lot. Like, in terms of, like, if I think of, like, the rest of my life and stuff. And once
pretty
I started
good for 18 months, but yeah.
Once I, like, thought about it that way, I'm like, okay, like, because I was really, like, because there was like this fear of just like if I just read too much, I'm gonna completely fuck up my listening and speaking and stuff. But it's like the limit on like the spoken and listening language is like lower than the reading one, which is much higher, because it's just more content and like more vocabulary in that area than listening and stuff. And so then what listening just becomes is like after you have most of the vocabulary, then it's just really like pitch accent and stuff like that, like stuff related to that, I guess.
Yeah, cool. So I mean, maybe you said you're gonna continue aim for confident fluency in 3 years, so maybe after another 18 months passes, we can have you on again. Hear,
maybe
how your experience has changed. That'll be good. But anyway, yeah. So normally, to conclude, if you want to have any media recommendations for other people learning Japanese, your go-to immersion sources.
Let's see. I don't know about. I'll just kind of like go with what's at the top of my head. So number one, don't take Anki like it's your life. Like, guys, it's a supplement. Like, you gotta realize that. Like, I mentioned this before, but people get really obsessive over it. And it's like, as long as you immerse consistently every day, you'll be fine. Like, that the bottom line is that you're immersing every day. That's the most important thing. Two, if you're someone who can grind really hard, go ahead. But if you're not that person, when you need to do stuff that's just fun, just do it. Don't worry about efficiency. The point is, like, that. Someone actually asked me this. They're like, if there was like what's the one piece of advice, if I had to just give one piece of advice, is that you need to do things that bring you back to learning Japanese. Like, you gotta do stuff that makes you want to continue doing it, because that's the only way you're only gonna get there if you keep doing it. So you gotta do stuff that makes you want to keep doing it. Even if that sacrifices some efficiency sometimes. And even then, like, if you're enjoying something rather than like suffering and grinding, sometimes, like, I feel like you can get a lot more out of that either way. Though I can't say for sure, but that's kind of like how I thought of it. For media recommendations, if you're like a weeb, just watch anime all day. Like, it's fine. It'll be fine. Like there's so many people that like say like, yeah, anime doesn't have like, that's not real Japanese, but it's like, it really depends on what kind of show you're watching. And if you mix like anime with like YouTube and like other shows and stuff, it's easy to tell what is real Japanese. It's not that hard. And like, so like I like anime, YouTube, Netflix, there are VPNs for that. It's like the soft ether one, or I think Nord and ExpressVPN also let you access
I use NordVPN right now. I recommend it. Works
okay,
really well.
because I saw like a really nice deal on. They have like a really nice price on it, so I'm like kind of looking at that right now, so I can have like consistently good streaming. And I'd recommend against using subtitles when you're watching shows, for the sake of just improving your listening ability. It's way better to just take your time using shows to improve your listening ability, because there's always going to be enough content for you to read, but I feel like it's harder to find content that you actually like want to watch and listen to, at least for me, because I'm really picky about that. But like, when it comes to reading, there's so much content that like there's just a lot that I kind of like, and so it's a lot easier for me to choose from that instead of like shows and stuff. And yeah, I don't know. Oh yeah, and I guess like if you're like planning on spending money for like equipment like to help you learn Japanese, like for example, like, you know, like Matt uses like the Bose Quiet Comforts, which are like $350 headphones. Like, yeah, they're good, but if you don't have $350 lying around, like, stop worrying about it. It's not that big of a deal. Like, people who are like are broke and have no money have been able to like make age at work. Like, you'll be okay.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, because I know some people, they're like, yo, but if I just got these like the headphones aren't gonna do it. It's just doing.
Yeah, they're not magic.
Yeah,
basically. They're good, but they're not magic.
Yeah, like, and also it's just like, you know, why am I gonna pay $350 for some headphones when I could buy like a new console and get more Japanese games? I mean, you know, like, so yeah, so if you just have money, go ahead, do whatever you want, and if you don't, play it smart. Like, if you, for example, if you want to buy books and stuff, another thing, I mentioned this before, but Kindle is your friend. This will be your best friend for reading. I love reading on paper more. I just enjoy the feeling of it. But if you don't care about that, or you just really want to improve your reading a lot quicker, Kindle is your best friend, because you can look up words on the fly, you can highlight full sentences, and then use an app. I think it was like clippings.io, and then, you know, you can use that to make sentence cards if you want to. So I highly recommend the Kindle. I don't really know. Is there anything else?
I mean, any specific shows you liked, or books that you read?
Okay, Steins Gate I really liked. I mean, The Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is already too popular, so everyone knows about that one. Actually, let me check because I have like a bunch of anime on my computer. Let me actually check this real quick. Oh yeah, like Reincarnated as a Slime Tensei Shitara Slime Dattaken. That one is really fun to watch. Kara no Kyokai, Garden of Sinners, if you're into like if you're into like the Fate universe, like the Fate Stay Night universe and stuff, it's the same universe. It's really good. If you like really long running shows, then there's stuff like Yu Yu Hakusho, which I've yet to watch, but there's also like Gintama and stuff. I'm enjoying Black Clover. There's Dororo, the Monogatari series, which I still need to kind of get back into, but I like kind of like stopped because I wanted to read the novels and then like go back to because if I keep watching the show, it's gonna be hard for me to like get through the novels.
Yeah, definitely.
So like I kind of put it on hold for now. Actually, I wanted to buy the physical copies of them, but then it's like
they're expensive though.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, though I did see like them a little bit cheaper if I can order them used on Amazon. They just take like a month to get here. It's the only thing.
I think I had the first volume. I bought it used. I don't remember how much it was, but I also wanted the entire volume or the entire set. I actually remember when I came back from Japan. Because I left early, I had a lot of extra money left over, and I just spent it all on books. And I had a list of all the light novel series that I wanted to get, and the Bakemonogatari one was on there, but then I was like, wait, this is going to be like hundreds of dollars to get the entire set, so I had to give up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably better if you get it on like Kindle or something, because like, I know there's also like, they made a Bunko version of them, but...
Oh, really?
I believe there is, but even if there is, probably best not to touch that and just go with the original like novel version.
Yeah, it's like it looks interesting. Here, where is it? Here. It's because they come in these like really nice
boxes, yeah.
And then the text is like double.
Yeah, I have that. Yeah, it's like that. I have one book like that. I got it at Book Off. It was really random because, by the way, guys, if you have a Book Off near you, check that place. Like,
yeah, I'm jealous.
Seriously.
I don't
like though they kind of remodeled mine, and I kind of don't like how it looks now. Like I feel like because for some reason I think I don't know why, but like they don't have like the Japanese light novels on display like before. I don't know why, because I like walked around and I didn't see them at all anymore, and I was weirded out. But even then, I don't go there for that often. They don't have that big a selection of light novels, but for regular books, they like the second floor of mine has like it's all like Japanese books, and the basement floor, like which is all anime stuff, they're also adding more books there. But like I just found this one randomly. It was like $3, which is the only reason I bought it. And
Higashi no Keigo.
Yeah,
I've read some books by that author.
And so yeah, but it's basically like the same thing. Like these big ass books, they have it where they're split like this, and it just looks really cool, honestly.
Yeah, no, I think it's easier to read because you know how sometimes you're reading an English book and then when you go from one line to the next line, you accidentally reread the line you just read or you skip a line.
Yeah.
So it's like the shorter the line, then the less likely that is to happen because the shorter the jump that your eye has to make is. And so I think when they're shorter, it's like it's easy for your eye to know where to go, and so you never get lost.
Yeah, that's one of the things like what's one of the struggles, like you want to buy all these books, but then you're like, ooh, but money, so then you gotta sometimes
you gotta go to Japan for that if you want to cheaply buy
like to get it over here. Like it's either like Kindle, you order it on Amazon Japan, which will still cost more because you'll probably pay like around $10 to $12 per book, which is actually how much they actually sell like Kinokuniya. Like they sell it basically at the same price because they gotta ship it over here too, so it still costs more. Same for manga. Though manga specifically is the one thing I can't read digitally. I have to read it physical. If it has like the furigana or whatever, like the thing to read the kanji, like it's really
too small.
On digital. So it's just manga. I keep it physical, but other books, it's fine if you read them on Kindle and stuff. But like to get books over here for cheap, it's hard. It's either Kindle or you gotta put on your eye patch. That's all I can say. Because that's really the only methods.
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, I try to buy as many as I can, but yeah, sometimes it's just like money, man. And if I went to Japan, I'd be buying everything, but until I go there, it's just gonna be a little bit of both, basically.
Yep. That's how it goes usually. But as I always think for myself, and I'm sure you think the same way. Once I get rich, I'm gonna go back and donate huge sums of money to.
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
content
no, yeah. Like
creators
once I actually have
consume
like
content
a
from.
livable, like where I can live off an income, like I'm gonna like set money aside all the time to like rebuy a bunch of stuff. Like I do that sometimes now even.
Cool.
So yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, it was great to have you on. Got to cover a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
A lot
Damn,
of
it's
juicy
been an
content.
hour, 40 minutes. Wow.
Maybe I'll have to cut this into part 1, part 2. But
But
yeah. I'll link your channel in the description and your Twitter, and maybe we'll see you again in another year and a half.
maybe
keep up the good work.
We'll see. Yeah. So basically, my Twitter is just me like ranting about stuff. I'll post some and my stuff, some of my thoughts about the like my immersion process only now that I've actually like had enough practice. And then other than that, my Twitter is just like random me stuff about life or me getting mad about something. I don't know. So it's up to you. It's not any big deal. I'm just a regular guy. So yeah. I don't know. I don't think there's really anything else for me to say.
Cool. Well, yeah, I guess we'll just end it here. So, thanks for
Alright.
coming on. It was great.
Yeah. No, it was really awesome to be here. I didn't think I was gonna be on one of these videos.
Yep.
Honestly,
You made it.
It's pretty awesome.
So, we'll see you guys next time, I guess.